Alright, this is the Delem DA-58 touch controller. It is the lower end, middle end of the Delem line. There's 66 and 69 above it, and there's a few below it, but this is about the easiest one there is to program. You have your products page. This is where all of your programs that you've written will be stored and can be pulled up to run again later. There's two ways basically of programming this controller. You can write a program using just numbers, or you can draw a part. The first thing we'll do is we will draw a part. So we go new product. We have to give it a product ID. It can be letters, numbers, any combination thereof. Caps lock, you want that on. Enter that. Product description is your in-house description of what you want the part called. It doesn't have to have anything entered if you don't want to. Skip that. Material thickness, whatever your material thickness is. Material type, default is steel. Aluminum, zinc, and stainless are other choices. You can also add up to, I believe, 20 custom materials. Bending length is how wide across the bed your part is. Inside or outside dimensions, up to the operator, however the print is laid out, and then the controller uses its own radius calculations and bend allowance calculations. Now, if you want to do, say, a hat channel, tap on that leg, tell how long that leg is, 2 inches, then we'll go to 90, and a 3-inch leg, and then do 90, and we'll say that's 6 inches. And 3 inches. And 2 inches. Parts drawn, go to tooling setup, select our tooling that you have in the machine. There's a tooling library. You can go and tell whichever ones. If you go here, you would go and select whichever punch you're using. Same thing with the dies. Select your die, go in and select whichever die you're using. Once you have your tooling selected, go to bend sequence. The controller will figure out a bend sequence for you. Unbend it all the way. Once it's unbent, it'll tell you actually what size the blank should be to make this part. Once you're done with that, you go to automatic, and you can go to graphical. You can actually view the part, which way the part should be oriented in the machine. There's bend 2, bend 3, and bend 4. At that point in time, you're ready to run that part. Now we can go back to products, and we can just write a program. Now we can do the same part or something simple. New program is just numbers. So again, you have to give it a name. Product description if you want, you don't have to. We're going to use angle mode. Asking for material thickness again. It always asks for that. Material type. Which punch we want to use. We're using this punch. Which die you want to use. We're going to use this die. We are air bending. Our bending length is 36 inches. Our angle is a 90. And we want our back gauge at 3 inches. That's step 1. If I want to then add more bends, I would insert bends. It copies step 1 into step 2. Then I just have to go and modify whatever changes. My back gauge dimension, if it's different, 2 inches. Insert another bend. Now I'll say I want a 135 instead of a 90, change my angle, and there's those 3 bends. I can then go to automatic and run those 3 bends. Now there is no graphical because I didn't draw it, but that is the basics of writing a program. It's very straightforward. You only have to know a few things to actually make a part. There's also in here tooling library. So all of your punches and dies will get programmed into the controller. That way, and it will always be there. Whenever they write a program, they will go and select whichever punch and die they want to use. You can do hemming dies, flattening dies, radius dies, or punches in this case. And then bottom dies, same thing. Very easy to program the tooling, very easy to select it. For a new program, you only have to know approximately 7 things. You have to give it a name, so whatever name you want to call it. You don't have to give it a product description, not required. You have to tell it how thick your material is. You have to tell it what kind of material it is: steel, aluminum, zinc, etc. Except that, so far we had to know 3 things. Now we need to know which punch we're using. We're going to use that punch. We need to know which die we're using. We're going to use that die. We need to know how wide our part is for the bending length. So it's 36 inches. We need to know what angle we want, and we want our back gauge or flange dimension at 3 inches. That is a program. That's simple. Again, we're on a Delem DA-58 Touch. In the product screen, there is a handy feature for operators who have certain either kits or jobs for different customers. You can actually go in and create a directory for each customer you have or each individual product line you have, which makes it much easier for the operator in the future to find the parts that he wants to form in the future. At the bottom of the Delem DA-58 Touch controller, these are all your different menus. Products is where your product library will be. So any product you draw or program will be in this catalog. Again, you can add directories, you can change directories as many as you want. It is Windows based. Drawing is if you draw a part, this is where you actually draw it or go in to modify it and edit it. Tool setup is where you go and you select which punch and die you're using out of your tooling library. Bend sequence is where you come up with a formula, or the controller does, to bend the part that you programmed if you draw. If you only write a program, you only have program. These 3 are only used when you draw a part. Program, as you can see, all the numbers are populated just like as if you program or wrote a program from the drawing that you drew and drawing. Auto is where you run production. Manual is for manual setups. It's a one-hit only. Cannot be actually saved as a program. Typically, this page is more used for tooling changes and bizarre setups. Settings is more for the operator's use. Going between inches and millimeters is easy as that. If you need a different language, there's that option. Then there's many tabs up here. You can go in and you can add materials to your material tab if you're doing AR or any of the hardened materials. You can go in and put in the actual material strengths and elongation and tensile strength of those materials. The controller will account for that. Backup restore, where you can back up all your products. There is on the side a USB port where you can put a memory stick in. And the rest of this is all default settings for the operators. Typically once it's set, nothing else checked. That doesn't change. Machine tab is where you have your tooling library, your maintenance. You're going to see how many hours are on the machine, how many strokes are on the machine. Keep track of when you need to do an oil change and maintenance issues. One of the handy things for an operator is if they ever get stuck, if they're in their program and they're using all the extra options on here and they need to figure out what one of them is, say it's delay time. If they don't know what that is, they can always hit the help button and it will bring up the entire user manual is on the controller, and it will bring up actually wherever they have highlighted to that page of the user's manual. So it's a handy thing if operators ever get into a situation where they're kind of confused or don't know exactly what they want to do. Hit the help button. Right there's the manual.